Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight for our Village of Alsip committee meeting. Today is December 11th, 2023, and we'll call this meeting to order at 7:33 p.m. Can you call the roll, please?
Trustee Dalzell is absent. Trustee Juarez-Mendoza is absent. Trustee McLaughlin?
Here.
Trustee Murphy?
Here.
Trustee Nava-Esparza is absent. Trustee Peretta?
Here.
Mayor Ryan?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So before we start our officers' reports, I always like to be cognizant of people that might be in our audience, put a value on their time being here this evening. If we can address some of the agenda items that would pertain to them. We do have someone in the audience for the Planning and Zoning and Licenses Committee. Trustee McLaughlin, your committee?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor.
Could you start, please?
This is a discussion of case number 2023-11-R-400 for a re-subdivision to realign Lot 1 and Lot 2 common lot line for the property located at 5555 West 115th Street, Alsip, Illinois. The public hearing was held on Wednesday, November 22nd of 2023, and the vote was 3-2 in favor of.
Very good. Thank you. So the vote for this at the Plan Commission, who's a referring body to this board, voted 3-2 in favor of subdividing this property. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So if I could ask you, sir, if you can tell us your name and who you're with.
Mark Landstrom from Landmark Engineering.
You can adjust that, Mark. I'm sorry. You're pretty tall. Thank you. That better? Thank you. So, Mark, if you can kind of tell us, we actually record these meetings. The cameras are faced at us. What was the purpose of re-subdividing this property at 5555 115th Street?
Because originally they had anticipated putting a building addition, so they did a re-subdivision, and that's what the first page I gave you was. And that got passed. That's how it sits right now. And so you can see if they did the building addition, it would fit nicely into that notch. They're not going ahead with that building addition, and so now they want to encourage the use of Lot 2, so to speak, all by itself. So the only purpose here is to get rid of that notch, make it straight, make it more normal a lot.
So
whether they sell it or develop it, at least it would not have that notch right in the middle of it.
Understood. One thing as a novice to the engineering world here, though, too, I mean, I understand that, all buildings have ingress and egress and so forth, too, but it looks like we just eliminated one of the two by getting rid of that property. In other words, if somebody else developed that property, the brick building and Lot 1 wouldn't have another driveway then, right?
Right, or it would be contained within an access easement.
Only because we don't know what would go on that lot. Maybe I can defer to you, Chief Szynski. Does that pose a problem, or what do you see?
So the actual 5555 building is a brick building. Everything that's being used in that building, there's a driveway along the north end of the building, along 115th Street, and then right along Central, right at the corner of the building. Lot 1 is actually 11535 Central, and there's a gate along Central that we have access all the way to the whole south side of the building as well as the west building. And my guess by looking at this right now is really not going to do nothing on the east side. The gate that is along 115th, which is where the fence and lot and the gar shack is, it's not a whole lot of access for our equipment anyway, so what we currently use everything off of Central, so I don't see any issue with that whatsoever.
Okay. Yeah, because obviously that's the first thing that came to my attention is you lose that big driveway that
Right,
would
yep.
have took you up to the back.
Yeah, and that's all windy where when it used to look like the cork over there, so there's really, we never really use that access just because of how it's shaped.
Okay. Any particular intended use? I know you can't speak on behalf of the owner, but
Well, the timing of coming forward now is not because of an intended use. It's because they have a mortgage on the whole property as one. Both lots 1 and 2 are one mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
And that note comes due, they didn't give me a date, but when that note comes due, they would like to separate it into 2 mortgages, one on the business part
Mm-hmm.
and then one on quote-unquote vacant part.
Right.
With all just the windy roads. That
Right.
would give them a more normal situation for sale or development. I mean, whatever they develop, they have to come before the plan commission with anyway, so, but if they sell it, at least they don't have this line and a mortgage hanging over it and everything.
By abandoning this particular, and when I say abandon, by parceling off this Lot 2 that they have on here too, doesn't this represent their water retention at the same time? I know a little bit about the property, but not a lot.
Yeah, at the very south end, you see it kind of curves into around that. That's where the retention is. I'm sure whoever develops it, whether somebody buys it and puts a building there, or if they put another building there themselves, that's all going to have to be addressed.
But where would you put the water retention? Let's just say, again, hypothetically, that's, somebody wants to develop that. Is this undevelopable because of the fact that that stands as retention for these properties off Central Avenue?
No, I wouldn't think so. I would think that flow would be bypass flow through the detention, and then it'll also have to detain whatever new development they have.
Okay, can I defer to our building commissioners here too? Roger, if you can grab a mic, please. Thanks.
Currently, the 2 parcels that are there, the watershed on that is set up for both parcels. If they were looking to parcel that off into Lot 1 and Lot 2, as they requested, in my opinion, I thought they were doing it kind of as a tax incentive down the road, but if there's something where they're going to utilize putting up another building, they are going to have to come back before planning and zoning. If they were planning on making it a parking lot, it's kind of a moot point because they have 2 current businesses there. I kind of take it as they are just going to utilize it for a tax break in the coming years. But that was just my surmise for it. But for the water retention, detention, right now, as it sits, it's contiguous to both parcels.
That's what I'm getting at is, in other words, we have to kind of frame in our head, like, and I get it, where somebody would want to parcel off property that they possibly are not. Yeah, I know, I'm familiar a little bit with this, I know it's a great green space and everything too. So we're not judging, we're trying to decide if it makes sense to obviously put a different pin on that, that makes it applicable for a future sale, that would we possibly just be jamming this up for no given reason?
I don't know if it's going to be, jamming it up, but the water retention is set for the standards previously. I don't know if you would be able to get a large building on that parcel. Again, that's kind of why I thought that it was just for the tax incentive purposes.
You can do it for tax incentive purposes, but the thing would be too is, it wouldn't be a buildable lot, you know? And so why would we want to subdivide that if we couldn't, if it wasn't more useful?
I agree with the statement. I mean, I couldn't figure out why they were trying to do it unless they were putting an addition on with Lot 1, but I wasn't the petitioner for it, so I don't know, and it never came out and
Understood.
gave me
And
any...
again, I'm not trying to predetermine or judge it. We're qualifying this, and certainly it qualifies to, I shouldn't say that. It could qualify to be parceled off. Mark, in your experience, I know you do engineering, you know, land surveys and stuff then too. I understand, and we do like a lot of, let's say, for instance, a lot of new development that comes to town. There are negotiations where the board has had to consider tax incentives, you know, tax assessments for folks to develop new properties in town, new businesses and stuff like that, with Cook County cooperation. With something like this, can I ask you from an engineering standpoint, are we shortcutting a potential new development from getting built there because of the water retention that exists?
No, because I think we're not addressing anything down by the water retention. We're just simply trying to square off the top, get rid of the notch.
So this,
That allows the current note for the entire property to be divided into two notes, one for the businesses and then one for the Lot 2.
so I'm looking at the footage here, so we're talking roughly of 533 feet wide by 1,200 feet deep at its longest point. Let's say at the shortest point it'd be 825 feet. How many acres is that ballpark, Mark?
I don't have that number, to tell you the truth.
You got that, Raj?
Well, you know, actually I do, because I have the actual plat.
It's actually 874, Roger, by 533.
Is that about 80 acres?
Right now, the whole property is about 32 acres. And about, in the new configuration, 518,000 square feet would be on Lot 2, and 895,000 square feet would be on Lot 1.
Trustees, any questions at this time?
Was it, my concern in looking at this, and I totally get the concept of straightening out the lot line, but it doesn't appear that there's enough green space left in Lot 1 to satisfy our codes. So that if Lot 2 ever did become subdivided off, there just isn't sufficient green space left on Lot 1.
Can you speak to that, Raj, about green space?
22 3/4
20,
acres.
just over 22
I'm sorry,
acres.
Chief.
22 3/4 acres.
That's 22 3/4 for lot number 2?
Yes.
Okay. Roger, what's the ordinance again for green space?
10%. There's not a whole lot of green space on Lot 1.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll have to sit down, Mark, and confirm our ordinance versus what the trustee and the building commissioner are saying, because we got an ordinance that compels us to have at least 10% of green space around any particular structure unless there's a variance that was applied for, and I don't think that was the case in this case. We're just trying to parcel the pins, that kind of thing, too. We'll certainly get to work on this right away and send over some correspondence tomorrow or the next day and verify what, it's one thing to look at the Lot 2 separation for this 22 and .75 acres, but it's another for us to shortcut our own self, where if we agree to this and we didn't meet our own ordinance for green space, then we're not doing ourselves any favors. We're going to back ourselves into a corner with this and stuff yet, too.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, trustees, any other questions right now? Okay. Mark, well, I'll get back to you by the end of the week here, for sure. We'll start working on this right away.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. Trustee McLaurin, if you want to finish the rest of your report right now on this one anyway, on planning and zoning, go ahead.
Okay, well, next up is discussion of case 02023-11-S-800 for special use B1 business for outdoor patio for liquor for the property located at 11525 South Pulaski Road. The public hearing was held on Wednesday, November 8th, with a vote of 5-1 in favor of.
Just for the record, is anyone here from Deuce's Sports Bar and Grill, 11525 South Pulaski? No one here to hear on this case right now. I don't know if we can certainly speak to it here, if any trustees, if you have any questions, if there's anything you want to look at or anything you like our offices to confirm. Roger, Building Commissioner, anything you want to offer, Roger, on this case?
There was ample parkings for the request. I was at the hearing. They did vote 5-1, obviously. There were a lot of questions about parking, which they do have ample parking in the front and the back. The requester would have to install a 6-foot privacy fence around that set area with 2 exits, which he agreed to, and also the lighting, which was part of the request. Quite a few questions about people smoking outside. If there was any complaints from the police department. There were some complaints about the lighting, which it's personal preference, but all in all, they did pass it 5-1. It is existing. The petitioner purchased the property less than a year ago. Through COVID, we did allow them to put the patio area out there, as we did on multiple locations throughout the town. I have had one complaint in the time that that patio has been there. I can't speak for the police department, but I did not have any issues with it.
Go ahead before I offer anything. And I will say, Trustee, go ahead. Were you gonna say something?
I have one question, especially based on what you just said, Roger, because according to the testimony during the hearing, the owner said he purchased it 1.5 years ago.
I don't think that he was full owner. I kind of know a little bit of the demographics of it, but he did become full owner, I want to say, in June or July of this year, as full owner. He was part owner, but I don't believe that he was majority owner at that time.
Okay, because
That-
he didn't specify in his testimony. He just, when asked when he purchased it, he said 1.5 years ago.
He did purchase a portion of it, but he was not the majority owner. He now owns the entire business. I believe it was June or July of this year that he is full owner.
Yeah, because I went back and did a quick search and just emails, all the correspondences that we had yet too. I had him as a partial owner as far back as like April of '22, and because I know he was around at least close to 6 months before I spoke with him on some other issues last Christmas, And like you said, he was not a majority owner at the time. He was only like a third owner, and the other third obviously left, and now, like you said, the second owner left as well, too. So he is the sole owner as of this year.
That is correct.
And we did have one person came in, and she was a very nice lady that came into a meeting here just to complain about, she lives in a building directly east of the park, she lives off that parking lot, that she shares the property, I'm sorry, her building shares like the parking lot almost, that butts up to it.
The parking lot abuts
Behind the
back
building.
windows.
Right.
Yeah.
And she just basically, her complaint was that sometimes when they close at 2 a.m., patrons don't always leave right away, and it's not necessarily the fault of the business, but she asked for more police assistance to make sure that everybody leaves and stuff then too, I will say, trustees, since I do have a small, well, I actually compiled a full list ever since Deuces kind of came in existence of any kind of calls for service over there. And, back in August of '22, 4 females left the business without paying their tab, not necessarily the fault of the business. In September of '22, unknown offenders attempted to steal a bartender's car. In May of '23, a male subject was struck in the head with an umbrella by a female. Incident possibly stemmed from male leaving in her car. So obviously, the more domestic issues, that kind of thing. But in May of '23, a male victim reported that he was attacked and robbed by a group of unknown males and when he came out of the establishment, the victim stated 3 gold necklaces were taken from him during the incident. And additional witnesses on the scene advised the victim was involved in a traffic crash nearby, and it kind of led into this. So, again, I don't know that we blame the business for that. June of '23, this year, refused caller reported, in other words, didn't want to give their name. Several subjects were fighting in the rear parking lot. Upon arrival, staff advised a verbal argument occurred between family members, but all parties involved were no longer on scene. And then they missed a hearing on June 27th with the Plan Commission, and because of the beer garden not conforming to standards. July of '23, employee had their vehicle taken from the rear lot. And most recently, in August of '23, there, again, just a dispute amongst somebody over a bill, and they called the police to help advocate to settle it and stuff. So nothing really to do with even the temporary beer garden that we allowed during COVID. But, and again, for the most part, with this particular owner, as Roger said, he's kind of coming in late in the game, with something like this yet, too. So we can, if any, trustees, if you have any further questions on this one, please send me a note or Roger a note, and before we hear this case at a board meeting coming up.
Yeah, I was going to say, my only question would be, based on the number of tables, or I should seats, and what they're projecting to put outside, then what is the variance on the parking?
What he's looking for is to have no more than 24 seats out there, which is under the square footage. I believe he was, I don't have that right in front of me, but I can definitely get you that answer.
Let's see if he might
Because
have
I'm
it in
concerned with
packet
the other
here, Roger.
businesses. You've got Nancy's where people need to be able to, come in and pick up food, and the other businesses.
If I remember, there was 34 parking spots. So he would be taking up the drive lane and then 6 spots. But there was 34 total spots available in the rear and in the front.
But is it still based on CDM? Isn't doesn't that still require a slight variance?
Yes, it did.
So,
I can get you all of that from,
yeah.
Roger, I see 27 parking spots in the back.
and then, what was it, 14 in the rear, or 14 in the front?
There's actually...
I'm just counting in the back.
There's 27 in the rear, and there's actually 10 more in the front. But I actually went out there and counted them, and I actually went inside and counted the seats, because we did offer a variance recently for cross street at another establishment where it's one parking spot for every 4 seats.
Every 4.
And that's the same that the city of Blue Island has exactly too. And he's got 72 seats in his place, so 37 parking spots would justify those amount of seats.
Yeah, and I believe that was the request that was made, was 1 to 4, is what
Right.
my recommendation was
Right.
for the planning and zoning.
Roger?
Except I have a hard time comparing the two because the business that we granted that variance to across the street is more of a sit-down type restaurant. Whereas, I mean, like it or not, Deuce's is more of a bar. I mean, yes, they offer food, but that's not necessarily the first draw of going over there. And I think you have a lot more people. I mean, I attempted to go there over the summer, and there was absolutely no place to park. Both sides of the side street were completely filled with cars. Every space in the lot was filled.
Respectfully, I disagree. I think that's the food. When you go in there, it's the first thing you do is they hand you a menu to buy some food. And I've eaten there a couple of times just sitting at the bar with my wife. And they're pretty filled up. They got an active kitchen. I'm not sure how late they cook. Might be midnight. I'm not sure. But no, he does. They offer quite a bit of food in there, too.
Roger, what's the ordinance to keep the patio open? Times of close? 10?
Friday and Saturday has to be closed by midnight, and then 10:30 on Sunday through Thursday.
Okay.
And he was agreeable to those hours.
That's what I was going to say. I think he actually, I thought it was 11 during the week and midnight on the weekends, but he's going to make it 10:30? Is that what you're going to do?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Monday through Friday? Or Monday through Thursday?
Sunday through Thursday,
Sunday through Thursday.
and then Friday and Saturday you had the extended hour,
Got it. Thanks.
hour and a half.
Yeah, according to what was reported in the minutes, yes, that our ordinance is Sunday through Thursday 11, Friday and Saturday midnight for beer gardens, and their operating hours are weekdays they close at midnight, Friday, Saturday they close at 2.
Okay. Trustee, anything? Oh, I'm sorry, you still have one more item on yours, unless you want to say anything more
Sure,
about that.
we'll get that out of the way. Presentation of a list of licenses dated November 27th, 2023 through December 8th of 2023. And that is all I have, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll go back to the top of the list. Starting with my report. First on your agenda this evening was a paperwork up here. First on your agenda was the Village of Alsip recognizes and will comply with a new Illinois Transportation Benefits Program Act that will be in effect starting January 1st, 2024, which offers employees to purchase a pre-tax transit pass for public transportation on CTA and RTA systems. I was told by our attorneys that we did not have to pass any kind of ordinance or resolution to this because it's basically we're agreeing to obviously comply with this new benefit program. For the record, here, Madam Clerk will give you one of these too. For the record, is Illinois enacted the Transportation Benefit Program Act on July 28, 2023, making it mandatory for employers in Cook County and designated areas to provide full-time employees with the option to purchase pre-tax transit passes. The law will be in effect from January 1st, 2024. Covered employers and employees section means that employers are covered by the law if they employ at least 50 workers within 1 mile of fixed route transit in the Cook County or 37 townships listed in the law. The program covers all full-time employees who work an average of at least 35 hours per week. The law covers employers, again, with 50 or more employees located in a delineated geographic area. Transportation benefits requirement means that under the new law, covered employers must provide pre-tax commuter benefit to covered employees that allows the employees to use pre-tax dollars to purchase a transit pass via payroll deduction. The benefit must allow the cost of the transit pass to be excluded from the employee's taxable wages and compensation up to the maximum amount permitted by federal tax law, consistent with 26 U.S.C. 132, Chapter F, opens a new window. Employers may meet their obligation by participating in a program offered by the Chicago Transit Authority, opens a new window, or the Regional Transportation Authority opens a new window. They're both known as programs, these open new window. The transit benefit must be offered to employees starting on their first full day of pay period after 120 days of employment. And then finally, the employer resource. The law it's tasking the Regional Transportation Authority with creating a searchable map of addresses located within 1 mile of a fixed route transit service. So basically, this is something, if we do have any full-time employees that can obviously qualify for this benefit, can meet with the finance department, with the finance director, and apply for this pre-tax dollar transit purchase that can be deducted from their paycheck and stuff then too. So it's something we're going to acknowledge there.
I would imagine this would have to be put into the packet when the employees are hired, so it'd probably be an HR issue as well.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Right.
So maybe we can set that up with Tony and talk to him and get him, put that insert in the packet.
Into the package, because he's actually developing something now too, where he's told me he's putting together something for, like as you just said, an onboarding packet that's going to be a little more involved, and rather than just thank you, here's your new position, all that kind of thing. He wants to go through the benefits package better and everything else then too. They do it now, but sometimes folks get started and they're a little sketchy on what was said. A lot of activity going on, a lot of excitement, that kind of thing. So I'll be sure to ask them to include this.
Great.
Next, you know what, trustees, here, I made everybody, let me just pass this out real quick. I made everybody a copy of,
Thank you.
Just the paid leave back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got that one already. Thanks.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
Okay, is yours?
Don't
You
go
know,
off
that,
the
you know how
front.
that goes, you start handing them out, you know. So I'll try and make this brief. So the way your agendas read this evening, this is a request for consensus to have the attorney, I'm sorry, I got two things. I apologize. I was handing everybody out I got a couple things going on here. Let's go back to my report. First off, a request for a consensus to have the village attorney amend the ordinance that increases the number of Class C liquor licenses by one for Burrito Jalisco at 11950 South Cicero Avenue, Alsip, Illinois, who is requesting the village support of retail sales of liquor and Latino-owned food and drink products, including piñatas, etc., for parties. A Class C license shall authorize the sale at retail of alcoholic liquor on the specified premises, but shall not permit consumption thereon. No licensee under this subsection shall be permitted to sell a single container sales of beer less than 1 quart. The annual fee for such license is set out in our ordinance, section 4, number 78, and is payable on January 1st of each year. So last week, we had a member of the Burrito Jalisco management that was in here, and originally I was of the impression they just wanted to offer items to go, basically just like margarita mixes and stuff, so forth, that they were interested in manufacturing, but we were told differently that along those same lines that they do want to offer margarita packages, but they're also going to offer soft drinks and other food and products as well too. Could be rice, could be a lot of different ethnic, Hispanic enriched products that would go along with it, like I say, piñatas, things that are like party themed and so forth then too. So that's just my wording, the way I put down was Latino-owned food and drink products, but I think that was the gist that we got from the explanation from her.
Mayor, they said that they were going to come back in with renderings on what the space was going to look like and a list of products
Oh,
and
yeah.
stuff that they...
Didn't I put that in the packet here too?
There's a picture of the front of the building, but that's
Yeah.
not,
Doesn't do any justice.
and not only that is, I mean, the circled section of the building is currently restaurant space. I know because that particular door for a period of time is what they were using for the main entrance to take you right into the restaurant.
So,
So this doesn't help define exactly where they're talking about having this special store. Because they didn't
You know
define
what?
how many square feet they were going to be taking up, how it was going to.
Trustee, the submission I gave wasn't included, because they did send a floor plan.
Okay, yeah, all we got were the pictures of the outside of the building.
Yeah, no, that was me. I would just kind of coordinate and I know, most of us are familiar with where their location's at, but she did submit a floor plan that didn't make it to this packet. That's why I'm just double checking here real quick.
Might have been the area where 7-Eleven used to be.
It is. That's why I circled where the door was at, but she gave us an overhead plan of what that was going to, it was a professional plan yet, too. It didn't make it. I'm sorry, I didn't notice that that did make the packet, and when I sent it over, it did. So I will, again, it's not like this has to happen today or tomorrow, but I'll have this back in the packet next week, as far as what the floor plan was for this end, too. It was kind of basic, but at least it showed you an overhead view of what was going to go into that space, where it used to be a 7-Eleven store on the end of that property. So I'm sorry that didn't happen, because yes, that was how the conversation started. It was her sending that to me attaching pictures to tell everybody this is where it's going to go. And unfortunately, it's not here. So anyway, I'll get that to everybody this week. do you see it?
But while we're talking about them, and maybe Roger, you can answer, is the drive-through window going anywhere? I mean,
In the rear?
they've had the sign up for I don't know how long, and there never appears to have actually been a drive-through that was
The
implemented.
last time we were out there, they did not have any intention in utilizing the drive-through. They expended the money for it, but they are not utilizing it. That was what I was told the last time I was out there, which is probably about a month and a half ago.
I'll tell you what they did do, is when I'm looking at this overhead picture too, they actually did do a better job of designating parking, including handicap spots, on the backside of the building that would have been a drive-through. That doesn't exist. So maybe they felt bringing more people into the business and having them just pick up might have been a better option than trying to allocate personnel to operate a drive-through window. Everybody's got their own take on what they think works best sometimes, but no, I haven't seen it. I go in there every so often. I have not seen that used. And like you said, Raj, they set up something on the north side of the property, but never really utilized it or anything too. Okay.
Well, and it's in, they had the big sign up too, and
I think too many cars parked there, especially on the weekend. You can't even get near that place. So
Right.
try
well,
to
and it's
operate
in,
a
and yeah,
drive-through.
that's my next concern is, since we're talking about restaurants and parking spaces, is that they definitely do not appear to have enough based on the seating that they have. And I say, and I actually had looked up their property line, and basically, I'm off the top of my head, it ends immediately behind those parking spaces that are up against the building.
In the back, you're saying?
Yeah.
Along the west side.
Roger, are you aware of any parking agreements that they have, like with Home Depot or anything like that?
Harlem Irving, I believe that they did have an agreement back when Harlem Irving owned it, so that they could use overflow over in the rear of the property. But I'm not in possession of a copy of it.
All right. I'll get one then. I'll ask for it. So we need a parking agreement between Brado Lusco and Harlem Irving. Or Home Depot, I guess.
I'll give both a call tomorrow to provide that.
Okay. I'm not saying, in other words, we can certainly look at this. I'm not saying that the trustees right, wrong, or indifferent. I just want to prove up whatever the agreement is on that then, too. And obviously, he's probably going to need a little extra space anyway, just for his employees and stuff then, too. So they're not eating up all of his parking here and stuff, that's all. Yeah, I don't know how many people it would take anyway. In fact, I didn't get that information. Make myself a second note here. How many people are required to operate the store? This might just be a one-person operation to oversee like a store like that.
Thank you.
Very good, okay. Let's move on to the rest of our reports. We'll go to our clerk, Hardy.
Thank you, Mayor. I have the presentation of the October 2023 IDOT motor fuel allotment in the amount of $67,339.84, and the presentation of the December 4th, 2023 board meeting minutes, and that is all I had.
Okay, thank you. Our engineer called me earlier, and I couldn't pick up, so I don't have a report for him this evening. I'll have something next week on safe routes to school. Public forum, anyone in the audience wish to address the board tonight? Hi, how are you, Mr. Smoot?
Fine, Your Honor. How are you,
Good, yeah.
everybody else?
Good evening.
I just have one little quick thing, and it's near and dear to my heart.
Mhm.
Because in 2020, the general elections where you could vote was not here. We had to go in Midlothian. So
Right.
I'm just wondering, for next year, since no more pandemic, or just say it's not as bad as it was before, can we vote here on the premises?
I believe we did.
Yeah,
did.
we're going to have the early voting here, so we'll have early voting, and the day of voting, this will be open.
Thank God.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, no, the board gave, I don't know if we voted or gave consensus on that about a month or so ago. Because you were kind of in a short window to
Yeah.
reply.
On day of?
Pardon me?
We are going to be voting here on day of
That's
instead
what the
of...
paperwork had. The day of voting was listed on, like, they had the early voting dates, and then the day of was all listed on that paper.
But
There-
I think lately this hasn't been a election day
Polling place.
place.
Yeah, the
No.
election
I'll have
day
to double
polling
check it, but I
place.
thought it was on there.
Yeah, just early voting
You
normally.
know what, Madam Clerk, sometimes what it is typically you'll do all the early voting, then it's the day before. That's like the last day, the day before the Tuesday election.
I'll have to
It'd
double check.
be
Maybe I
Monday,
read it wrong.
And usually after the Monday, that's when everything switches over and stuff then, too. But yes, Dan, early voting here, right, yeah, so, okay, sure. We'll go to our standing committee reports, starting with Finance and IT, Trustee McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mayor. I will have the usual list of payroll and accounts payable for approval next week, and that's all.
Okay. Thank you. Next, Fire Committee, Trustee Murphy.
I have Chief Szynski will provide an update on new fire equipment at the fire department.
All right,
Chief?
easiest one first. Within the last 2 weeks, we put in service our new SCBA equipment that we received from the Assistance to Firefighter Grant through FEMA. So we put in service 33 new SCBA units on all of our equipment. All of our firefighters have been trained. The ones that we were using will be out of date in the next year and a half. So timing came at a good time. Our grant was for, I believe it's $396,000. It was a joint grant between us and the Garden Homes Fire District, so I'm still waiting for them to purchase their equipment, get their invoices in, and then once they are paid, and then we will apply for funding to replace that, with the exception of the 5% matching. We also put in service, we removed all of our gas-powered saws, our chainsaws and our cutoff saws, and we went with battery-operated saws. A couple reasons is, number one, we don't have to carry fuel in the vehicles anymore. We've had a few injuries from cords as a couple of the firefighters tried pulling them, the cord ripped throughout a couple shoulders. One of the biggest reasons is now we don't have to worry about oxygen deficient atmospheres like smoke-filled areas to operate the saws where they'd bind out for like roofs and overhead doors. So kind of moving up to the 21st century all the way in with battery-operated equipment. So. And we all of our firefighters went through training with those as well. So, and then the two Makita band saws that C.J. Erickson donated, those also went in service. One on a ladder truck and one on our squad. So.
Okay, next we have, the chief will provide an overview of the chief's fire officer course that Lieutenant Freitag took this year.
So kind of looking forward into the future, when I leave, when Deputy Chief Ricker leaves, people to take over our positions, if you will. So within the fire service, we have 3 different categories of officers. You have company operations officer, you have advanced company. Company officer is really designed for lieutenants or people that want to be lieutenants. And then we had advanced, it's kind of designed for anything above lieutenants, like captains, battalion chiefs up to that point. even some assistant chiefs. Then we have the Chief Fire Officer program, which is really designated for anybody who wants to be a chief officer, whether it's the chief or a deputy chief or any other chief officer, including battalion chiefs. So we have 3 different levels. Chief Freitag, I asked him to attend about a year ago to be part of the program. At this time, he's completed over 416 hours of the program. Lasts about 13 months, and then he's got a task book, which is all based by objectives to get his actual certification. So the closest thing that's out there is through the National Fire Academy. They have their Chief Executive Officer, which is probably very similar. So again, this is a higher level of instructional training for Chief Fire Officers. So I'm glad he, kind of looking forward to him in the future, hopefully moving up the ranks and kind of helping them lead the fire department in the future. Lieutenant Freitag's been on for, I think, close to 15 years now. So.
And next we have a discussion of the disposal of old scoop SCBA equipment and power saws.
Right. So just like we did last time, we replaced our air packs. They have to go somewhere. Like I said, they're about 1.5 years away from being out of date, if you will. The cylinders will be out of date. That means you can't use the cylinders after 15 years. That's the way the standard is. The air packs, you can still use them, but they're about 3 standards out of date. That's kind of why we use them for 15 years. They're really not worth anything. Last time that we had our other ones, we sold them to a company called Dalmatian Fire. They gave us $100 a piece, and it wasn't worth the labor for us to put all that in together. If you look at the air packs, I think we have 30 of them that are in service right now. We make about $3,000 on it. It's not worth the aggravation. I would offer them up to a volunteer department who struggle to get new air packs, at least to buy them a little bit of time. And then obviously it'd be up to them to replace the cylinders when they need to replace the cylinders. A couple different programs. We've also donated equipment down to South America because there's no standards down there like we have up here. So a couple different avenues with that. Same thing with the saws. I did talk to Mike Frater. I'm going to have them look at our saws, see if any of them they want for public works, and I'll do the same thing with Danny and Roger if they want any. After that, we'll probably do the same thing as offer them up. There's a couple different places, fire departments that can't afford a lot that take old equipment like that. Some of the saws are 15, 17 years old. I mean, they've been beat. They got their use out of them. Again, it's really not worth selling them at that point. You're really not going to get nothing for them. So that's my suggestion for both of those pieces of equipment. So,
how many saws are there, Chief?
Roughly, we're going to keep 1 cutoff and 1 chainsaw for us. Depends on how much public works. So there's probably 8 to 10 saws between both chainsaw and cutoff. We also have a few older 12-inch ones. The cutoff saws are 14-inch that we currently have on our vehicle, so we have a few older 12-inch ones that are probably over 20 years old. Those are the original ones we bought.
And a cutoff is for excavation for cars?
For cutting concrete, cutting steel.
Okay. Okay. And next, the discussion for replacement of the motor in the ambulance 2042.
Yeah, I did mention this probably a month and a half ago. So within the last almost year, ambulance 2042, which is our 2018 Ford, it's been burning more oil. Really no explanation where it's going except it's being used through the motor somewhere. So a couple of the mechanics, what they're estimating what's going on, and it's either going through one of the cylinders, it's going through the rings. What their recommendation is, and we talked to 3 different people, is the best thing is probably replace the motor. The only reason why they say that is the amount of time and money you would spend on diagnosing the problem, and if it is a ring problem or if it is a cylinder problem, you would spend more in labor and time to repair that than it is to buy a brand-new motor. The motor itself is only about $5,000. The labor is roughly another $6,000, and with the brand-new motor, you get a 3-year warranty. If we do fix the ambulance, and it does turn out to be, like I said, a ring problem or a cylinder problem, and we fix it, and it goes out, there is no warranty left no more, so.
How
we
many
get it
miles
fixed.
are on that, Chief?
I knew you were going to ask me that, and I had this earlier. I want to see close to 50 or 60,000 miles on it.
What year is that again?
2018, 5 years old.
Do we ever get any offer for any extended warranty on any of these vehicles ever?
No, they won't offer it because they're hard-mild vehicles.
And Chief, I was making a note when you were talking, again, what's the projected cost for that?
About 11,000. So we reached out to Ford dealers, 2 Ford dealers, and then Chicagoland Diesel. They're all right around the same price. They're a couple of $100 within each other.
Would it be an identical motor?
Yes, yes.
Why would we do that? If it's
You have to get the same size motor. You can't do anything differently with it.
You can't.
No, you got to buy the same motor that's going to fit in there. So it has nothing to do with the motor, the type of motor, the size of the motor. It just we've had that with our other diesels too. We had problems with them in the past. It's just they have a lot of hard miles on it, and things happen with motors.
I know, but 50,000 miles in 5 years, it's like.
But again, it's hard miles. It's not like you driving your
taken.
car around. Yeah.
And next, to provide an update on the ladder truck replacement.
Right, so we had our one meeting with the firefighters about a month ago, talk about some ideas, and they were going to measure the compartment, see how much room that we have, what we need for our equipment that we have on there now. Our next meeting is scheduled for the 21st, which is next Thursday, starting at 9 in the morning. We do have 3 vendors that will be coming out that day also to talk about their equipment or at their apparatus or their vehicles that they have. I've also reached out to one more who cannot make it that day, so we'll probably do another day. The only one I haven't reached out to yet is Seagrave. I tried emailing our salesperson, but he's off until the 12th, just to get different ideas, different construction. We're looking at a lot of different things with this one. Again, just it's going to be a little different than the past, and we know we have to make it more generalized. So we're trying to do the best job we can and get the most value out of it, but also have it last the longest as well. So again, a lot of work is going into this one.
And that's the 21st of December?
Yep, starting at 9 a.m. at Station 1. We have one vendor coming in at 9, one at 10, and then one at 11.
Any questions from anyone on that?
No, I'm just making a note. So we had 3 vendors, 9 a.m., 10 a.m., and 11 a.m.?
Correct.
Okay.
Now I'm working with the other vendor. I probably won't be until after the first of the year, just because the holidays are coming up. So
And will that be at Station 1 or Station 2?
that will be at Station 1.
And next, we have the discussion and request to approve a job description and salary for the position of administrative assistant to the fire chief exempt. The fire department secretary has given notice of her retirement, and the vacancy needs to be filled.
Did speak with Trustee Murphy earlier. 2 things that were on there. One question was, talks about confidentiality with personnel files. Our administrative assistants always had access to them files because of filing purposes, number 1. Personnel files are located at Station 1. They're in my office. They are locked up with the exception of the administrative assistant's the only other one that has a key besides the mayor to my office. And our files are dynamic, so anytime somebody, there's sick forms that got to go in there, anything that gets added to their jackets goes in there, and usually that person is the one that files that away. Or if there's any questions, they also have the ability to access that as well. Second part was on the qualification part. I worded it wrong. It talks about the Office of the State Fire Marshal certification. That would be an afterthought. That wouldn't be a prerequisite to get hired by us. That would be something we would send them for afterwards. It's a program set up by the State Fire Marshal's Office. It's roughly 110 hours, 3 months, 1 day a week for a certification class that's specifically for administrative assistants to fire departments. So I talked to our HR manager. I don't believe he had an issue with anything in the job description at all.
Well, I do have an issue with listing, at least in terms of what we're seeing in the packet, is listing that stipend of $1,000 per year.
I just threw that out there just to add it on. I mean,
Okay.
it's an incentive to do something. I mean,
Well, and we have we have a number of employees that have various certifications, and we don't specifically at this point in time call anything out like that.
right.
So, I mean, it's something to be considered, but I don't think it belongs on the job description.
Yeah, and that's fine. I just threw it on there just for the discussion. You know, Sharon was there for 22 and a half years, so we haven't had to do this since 22 and a half years ago. And Sharon was the first administrative assistant to the fire department. So this is new territory for us. I included both the old and the new job description, so I removed, I want to say it's 4 or 5 things I might have removed off the last one or the old one, and added only 1 or 2 new ones that were on there that applies to what we're doing right now. So.
Chief, I wanted to, when the agenda came out last week, Trustee Dalzella is out of town this evening, but he did offer the following comments. First, as far as job description, the trustee was recommending this be known as a position description. Second, when it said job title, again, he felt the wording, you've got administrative assistant to the fire chief. He asked for this to be considered as a position title. I'm sorry, job title, again, to be known as position title. Job classification, he wanted it known, he asked that this be considered a position, a job classification. You've got executive secretary.
Yes.
I think he was just referring to the title, but I'm sorry, the classification. So he's saying instead of calling it a job classification, it's position classification. And then same thing with the first one I said too. Instead of job title, it was position title. Next, much like Trustee, same as what Trustee McLaughlin just said, he disagreed with having a stipend for this position for the same reasons the trustee cited. And hours of work is said to be determined by fire chief. And again,
And that's the starting and stopping time each day. That's the only reason that I have that in there.
I think
right.
there should still be a set schedule. I mean, yes, it can vary within reason,
Right.
but there should be an anticipated time, whether it's
Oh, absolutely.
4:30 or 7 to 3:30.
Yeah, ours is normally 7 to 3:30, so that's what the normal would be.
Then I think as a beginning,
Yeah.
that's what should be.
That is the only reason why I left it as determined. It'd be between me and the administrative assistant. That's why I left that as is.
But
But
I think it's a matter, it can't be, it's like, well, Mondays we're going to do 7 to 3:30, and Tuesdays we're going to do 9 to 5,
Right.
and Wednesdays it needs to be, I think,
Yeah.
somewhat standardized, and then, yes, with your permission, here and there,
Is-
alterations.
And he said the same. He's like, work hours are a standard 8.5-hour work schedule. Chief, you and I talked about this once before. I know you've got suggestions here of, or no, I'm sorry, Trustee Dalzell had suggestions here of 7 till 3:30, 8 to 4:30, or 9 to 5:30. I would agree, we talked once before, if you get shift change at 7 a.m., it should probably be a 7 a.m.
Yes.
start.
Yep.
So 7 to 3:30, this way you can meet with the guys leaving or the guys coming on in case they have anything they want to discuss.
Correct.
But also what I'd like, and again, the reason for this meeting this evening is we're trying to clarify what we'd like to see in this job description. I certainly, and the trustee had on his, but I would agree with him, I've said this in meetings before, but this is an in-person, physically at the firehouse. We're not going to offer remote work. There's no remote work at this job.
Nope.
Yeah, so it should specify somewhere.
Yep, and that's fine, that's easy to add on.
You had on here, position, oh, that was just a typo, position function. Then he had on here was duties and responsibilities. So he was deferring to, you had on here, prepare, verify, and complete reports of confidential nature such as employee time records, sick time usage, time due, and other benefit time earned or used, and maintains department roster. Okay? And I guess, oh, I'm sorry, his question was, why are those items listed above considered confidential?
That's the way it was listed in the other one.
Well, that's, we're
Yeah.
but I know, but that's kind of what we're doing here too, Chief,
Right.
is we're kind of cleaning up, because, again, you know, what somebody did a couple decades ago, a couple administrations ago, we're trying to identify how to clean it up.
And that's why I sent it to Tony to look at too, to see what he thought, so,
Okay.
I mean,
Then I would tell you, I had a meeting with him just this afternoon, and he agreed with this. I showed him this, he goes, I would agree, he goes, I don't see that being confidential.
yeah.
And then, so let
But
me,
shouldn't they also be maintained within the lead tech?
That's where it's at.
well, no, well, the lad tech is really, that's just scheduling.
It's just scheduling?
Yep.
Okay, so then how are we doing our time reporting to
It actually,
finance?
what the secretary does, or let's say even like the deputy chief over, what they do is, they take the lad tech scheduling, and there's a way that transforms it into a spreadsheet, and that's what gets sent to payroll for,
Our overtime is not, our overtime is a separate fillable form that gets sent in.
right, an exemption report
Yeah.
is a fillable form.
Yep.
But I'm saying for the most part, like salary-wise, that's how
Yeah,
that's done all the
the
time.
normal shift stuff is,
Right.
yes.
Trustee Dalzell also had, it was just a typo, skills and knowledge abilities, and he had on here, Chief, you had skills, knowledge, and abilities, ability to exercise, oh, that was just a typo that was in here. Once we named a position an administrative assistant, we should refer to it the same way all the time. Oh, I see. It was just the way the wording was on here and stuff then, too. The ability to exercise initiative and sound judgment that is commensurate with special knowledge and experience of an executive administrative assistant. He had a line through executive. He wanted to refer to this as an administrative assistant. Next was, in which I agree, I had this on notes as well, too. Also, on something like this, we should be insert a lad tech and Brightly software, asset management software.
I left it off purposely because we change software so much around here. Today we're using LaTeX. Next year LaTeX might not be here. Same thing, we were using Firehouse Records. Firehouse no longer exists, and now it's ESO, and everything changes so often. That's why I kind of left it broadly for that. It'd be, whatever's being used would be included in that.
Right, we're just saying that's, right now, that's the system that we're using.
Right.
If we have to amend it, we do, but by not including that, that just means it's not, you know, in other words, I know what you're saying, too. Sometimes, interpretive-wise, you can say because the word wasn't there, it didn't exist.
You want to specify it, we'll specify it. I know how often we change things around here, so.
Which bullet point is that, Mayor?
Pardon me?
Which bullet point is that?
That was under skills, knowledge, and ability.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So,
down there.
Chief, I met with HR this afternoon, and and I'll certainly give this to you, too. I copied this out of his SHRM manual that he's got. Our HR manager, he's got a master's degree in human resources, and he is SHRM certified. And what he had on here was, he was double-checking this afternoon as far as the exemption status was to and what it says here, I'll read this and I'll give you a copy of this, was administrative exemption. To qualify for an administrative employee exemption, all of the following tests must be met. So it's got 3 bullet points here. The first one was the employee must be compensated on a salary or fee basis at a rate not less than the established minimum per week, which that's being done. The employee's primary duty must be the performance of office or non-manual work. The employee's primary duty must be the performance of office or non-manual work directly related to the management or general business operations of the employer or the employer's customers. And then finally, what he kind of disputed was the employee's primary duty includes the exercise of discretion and independent judgment with respect to matters of significance. In other words, is it a decision-making position? And that's where he's hung up on. He didn't feel it met the last provision. What we're concerned with, Chief, is, and I made a note on this then too, we just want to be kind of really careful because, I had asked for a more concise job description or position description to be considered here, because sometimes if there's too many things, because a lot of the things that are in the job description you offered are repetitive. And one thing we want to be careful of is job descriptions, what I put on here, must be true and correct, as this can be grounds for potential litigation if and when duties are diminished or with the pay commensurate. In other words, when he and I were talking today, we're going to watch that we don't embellish a job position, a job description, and if they don't end up doing all those kind of things, it's like, why did I take this job kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like, sometimes, in other words, people have different expectations of their own. Even in the workforce, they can come in and say, oh, wow, I'm going to be doing this, that, and everything, and all of a sudden, if it's not that, they feel as though they signed up for something that they didn't mean to and stuff then, too. I'm just saying, if, we keep pushing the word confidential, it might not really be that all the time.
And
stuff,
keep in mind also now, this person also has access to our EMS records, which also goes for attorneys, FOIA requests.
Okay.
They also set up our physicals and get all of our physical results. So, and some of that decision-making is, when things have to be altered, they don't always have to come from me to that. So there's a lot of stuff going on.
They shouldn't be getting the results of those physicals. That's why we have an HR office over here.
It goes in their personnel file. We get the results by us. We don't get, like, what their actual levels are, but we get the report that they met the requirements of the physical. That comes directly to us, and it goes directly in their personnel files.
I can see where the records would come back to say they went for a physical, but the actual results or whatever came back.
No, we don't see that. We just see
that's what HR is here for.
And there's, like I said, there's a lot that goes into it. So everything that's on that job description is actually what they do. And
I'm just careful to say that I don't want any position to replace HR. That's what we have an HR office for.
No.
Well, and I say, and along that same topic, Mayor, I'm thinking specifically in terms of bullet point number 2, which I think we need to get out of there, which is maintain on-duty injury records and act as confidential liaison in workers' compensation incidents. And I think, we now have the outside firm that we've contracted with to assist with workers' comp, and in the past, this specific topic has gotten us into trouble when being handled by the department administrative assistant. So I think that needs to be an HR function. And not on...
And all the workers' comp stuff actually goes to that person, and she'll send it out to HR There's no other avenue to get it to HR except through that person.
HR directly.
No, that has to go to HR directly,
All the
Chief.
Form 45s, everything is collected by us, and it goes to Tony after that.
I understand, but a Form 45 is just a witness statement.
Yeah,
That's a Form
but all the
45.
documentation for an injury goes to us before it goes to Tony.
It's,
Well, and actually, according to our actual code, all of that should go to the shift supervisor, who can then turn it over to Tony. But the administrative...
Our shift supervisors don't do that. They're lieutenants. They don't have access to all that information.
But according to the ordinances, which I actually read earlier this evening, it specifically states that on-the-job injuries, no matter what department or who's involved, need to be reported directly to
Correct.
the supervisor.
They're reported to the supervisor, but the supervisor doesn't collect all the documentation. The supervisor only collects the supervisor's report and the first page of our documentation. That's it. There's a lot more documentation that's collected besides that, and that's the administrative assistant, someone that collects all that, makes sure it's all there before it goes to HR.
Yeah, I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying the assistant can't be involved in speaking to the workman comp.
No.
But that's what this says.
That's what it says.
Because at the time, we had no HR person.
I understand, but that's
Right.
exactly what I just said a few minutes ago. We're looking at, let's say, a job description that was out 20-some years ago, maybe, and we have to bring it up to today's
Right.
standards. And we've gotten in so many issues. We're trying to catch up. You and I have been involved in this.
I know.
We've lost so many professional hours in this. That's why I've got a central hub like HR to do this.
And that's why I asked HR to look at it, and I never got any comments back.
He and I sat down. We went line for line today. That's what
No,
I
I
did
didn't get
before I
nothing
got
back
out of
from
here
him.
today.
I asked him a week and a half ago what he thought about it. He said, oh, yeah, looks good to me.
Again, okay, so we'll try and speed this along, but let's say with the notes that I've got here, again, I want to have HR oversee many of these issues. Under the position function, the last sentence here was the administrative assistant shall also function as an office manager for any other clerical positions within the fire department.
Yeah, we need to strike that
That's
completely.
for the part-time fire prevention person.
I know,
Yeah,
but
yeah, it needs to be stricken completely.
Then who's going to supervise that person?
well,
I can only supervise so many people at one time. I'm at 7 already.
I get it, but according to the HR manager this afternoon, he told me to be considered an office manager, you need at least 2 other employees, so you need 3 total, and this is only 1.
How about the supervisor then of that part-time
Well, yeah,
secretary?
you can supervise the fire prevention,
Yeah, that's
you know,
fine.
that kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying, you
The
need to give it
part-time
more of a title
secretary,
like
not just-
manager,
Right.
and, you're compelled to management.
Oh,
you
and
know,
then we
that
can
kind of
change the
thing,
wording.
too. Yeah.
But it's supervise a part-time fire protection secretary. Prevention, sorry. That's an
I
easy
think
change.
even putting that in there, though, could potentially cause problems. I mean, this is not a supervisory position. It's an administrative assistant position. I mean,
Yeah,
none of
remember-
the other administrative assistants in the building have any supervisory duties.
But the administrative assistant is there 40 hours a week. The part-time fire prevention secretaries are 20 hours a week. I am not in the office for 40 hours. I am all over the place. If I spend 3 or 4 hours in the office a day, that is probably a lot, and that's only 1 or 2 days a week. I'm not in the office very often. There's other things I got going on.
No, we have a deputy chief, though, too.
He's out, he's got his own things he's got to do also, so he doesn't supervise any of them.
Like, say, for an example, like my administrative assistant, she doesn't get to supervise anybody. She can ask for assistance from different departments
Right.
or offer, under, if I ask her to reach out to somebody, she's doing it under my direction and stuff, but she doesn't get to supervise anybody here.
Right.
So, let's see what else I have on here. Was, Chief, you had one on here, maintain and update confidential department and personnel records and personal medical records for the department. That's what we just talked about. That's
Right.
what I have an HR office for. I can't have anybody else touching those records and stuff. That can only be HR.
Yeah, we
that
don't
does that.
have any specific test results that come back. It's only that they pass, that's all.
We covered the other just now, maintain and oversee. You have current computer-based programs currently used by the fire department. I'd like to have the words LadTech and Brightly asset management software included.
But on that topic as well, I mean, I have concern in terms of the wording. I mean, in terms of, the IT department should be in complete control of maintaining software.
IT doesn't touch our LATEC or ESO, it's all done on our end.
Yeah,
They have nothing to do with, because
They set the system up, trustee, but they don't navigate it or anything like
Well,
that.
it is, on daily, ongoing operation of the software is one thing, but anything connected to our networks,
that's part of Bob's job as a deputy chief. He does all the IT on our side. Brian and Leon does not. And all those programs are our fire department specific programs.
okay,
The
but
ones
if
that we're
Bob's
using.
doing it, then it shouldn't be on the admin assistant job description.
Bob doesn't go into the records itself, to all the different records and everything. He'll maintain if there's any problems with it, but that's about it. The secretary is the one that takes care of all the LATEC with everybody going in and out of it for payroll and scheduling and stuff like that. Brightly, I don't know nothing. I've never seen Brightly. We still haven't seen it, so I don't even know what it entails. Or what, I have no idea about Brightly.
Chief, I want to say it again, too. I'm not bringing all these up, I'm not picking on you or the department or anything like that. We just have to determine a good job description, because this is going to go out to applicants,
Yeah.
and we got to know that what's expected of them. Like, there's another one here that says, knowledge of policies and procedures of the Alsip Fire Department and the ability to interpret and explain them, shall have the ability to work in a paramilitary setting. A lot of, I don't know, what percentage of applicants do you think would qualify for that?
It just means you can work in our organization. That's fire department's a paramilitary organization because of our rules and regulations.
I understand, but what I mean is knowledge of policies and procedures of the Alsip Fire Department. Nobody coming in to fill out that job application would know that.
No, it's not for entry. It's after you get that job, everything's on computer by us, so you have reference to it.
Okay. Well, because it's under skills, knowledge, and abilities. That's what I'm trying to say is
Yeah, it's not prerequisites.
nobody would have that knowledge.
No, it's not prerequisites.
Right.
It's
Now-
after the fact.
Right, that's fine. And knowledge of bookkeeping and financial matters, ability to compose correspondences and memorandums. One thing I did want to double check here with you, though, too, is under education and work experience, you have a minimum of 2 years' experience in secretarial or clerical work, full or part-time, with experience in data processing, word processing, electronic filing, and backup systems, college-level course work in business systems technology, or certification from an accredited business school is desired, and we already struck the state fire marshal thing. Chief, I don't see anything here of having like at least a high school diploma or equivalent, like a GED or something like that.
I took that from the old job description, so I don't know where else we have that in our, we can add that in there, that's fine.
No worries.
Easy enough to do.
And then, so I would like to offer something. I'll put this down for the board and yourself too, Chief, to consider. As I was looking at job descriptions for this exact same position through another village, was advertising the same thing. Mine's a lot shorter, but I felt it really got to the point. And I'll just briefly run through this to say that they're accepting applications for a position of secretary for the fire department as opposed to administrative assistant. Interested candidates are encouraged to apply as soon as they can. In this case, we don't have a rate of pay established yet on yours. This particular major municipality was at a starting rate of pay of, say, $21.40 to $24 an hour based on a 40-hour work week. Salary dependent on qualifications. Salary range for this position is between $21 and $32. This position is represented by a union, and you can refer to an ASME collective bargaining agreement available on their website. I liked it. I thought it kind of, at least I identify with many of the positions that we have here in the village of Alsip. Job summary, This position performs clerical work to include but not limited to typing, public relations, coordinating work activities, daily administrative duties. Position also utilizes technology to the greatest extent possible, so procedures and processes are maintained efficiently. The ideal candidate will need to effectively communicate to a full range of people and organize time and resources effectively to work with accuracy. We're looking to add to this team member. Job duties: acts as an intermediary for supervisors, maintaining frequent contacts with the public and private officials, contractors, and other officials. It goes on and on. Exercise discretion and judgment on administrative decisions. Develops and implements procedures for expediting the flow of clerical work throughout the office. Prepares minutes and at meetings and agendas and safety meetings, foreign fire insurance, public safety, and are responsible for gathering stats, creating reports to the mayor's office. Manages correspondences with neighboring fire departments, MABUS, including box cards. Responsible for gathering and reviewing updated daily and monthly and annual inventory forms for apparatus, equipment, and so forth. Schedules annual hazardous materials physicals for personnel. Completes the requisitions or retired purchase orders, required for purchase orders. Executes the follow-ups with the OSHA annual questionnaires. Responsible for data entry. Does freedom of information correspondences and performs other duties as assigned. Qualifications: education equivalent to a high school diploma. Minimum 1 year experience as a secretary in the public or private office. Proficient with current computer software systems, including email, calendar programs, job-specific software, and customer service systems, preferred or prior completion of the trial. Benefits, basically what we have here. And selection process, candidate screening process may consist of an application review, skills testing, employability assessment, interviews, reference checks, and so forth, then too, much like all we do here. But all of this here was just a little more concise. It was a little more compact. What did you want to, what do you want to say, Chief, as far as, because again, with the board, before we get to the salary, was any other questions, board, on job description?
I was just curious, I was reading one bullet point here. What is, Chief, maintaining the span of control and integrity of test batteries? What exactly?
That was taken off. That was on the
old job
original one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Very good.
Chief, what are you recommending for a salary in this?
I'd say anywhere from 21 to 24, I think would be fair.
Okay.
I did send out a survey from IFSAP, which is the Illinois Fire Service Administrative Professionals, that had quite a bit of information on there. So I think the range that you just stated in yours is decent. I think that's fair.
Yeah. And you know what, Chief, I got it from like a major department too.
Yeah, there's a lot of them hiring right now. You got to remember, some of the larger ones like that, they have multiple people and administrative staff, and they just don't have one.
Right.
So, and a lot of districts too. So.
Yeah, no, I thought it was good. And this particular house had 5 firehouses yet too, and it just seemed like it encompassed quite a bit and everything yet too. You know. So.
I think I know where that's one, and I know the person that is going to that one.
Oh,
so
really?
She starts next week. If
Okay.
That's where I'm thinking.
Okay.
A little to the west of us.
Northwest.
Well, northwest.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Okay.
I think it's fair. Like I said, I used pretty much what I had off the old job description and try to fit ours around there. Obviously, both have a lot of good bullet points. We can mirror into it somewhere. I'm happy with that. Like I said, I sent it to Tony. I didn't get anything back.
We just did like right at 4 o'clock
yeah, and
today.
that's
I wanted
fine.
because I didn't have a chance to really meet with him on this. I wanted to just get his take.
Yeah, I mean, whatever you feel needs to be in there, added or whatever, I mean, we'll make it work.
It's good. Yeah, it's a great job. You know, I mean, it's a great job description. It's a great place to work. And you and I have had many conversations with the idea, or at least what I identify with as being fair to the other employees too.
Yeah,
Should
absolutely.
anybody here decide that they want to ask you for a transfer or anything like that, it would still play in that same ballpark or where they
Right.
may or may not be, depending on their years of service or with the village and stuff yet too, you know.
I know it has to be posted in-house, so we're still looking at posting it outside also. I know that's been, I don't, like I said, it doesn't matter, I just want to know from my own thought what everybody
We got to
thinks.
see what in-house produces first before we go out.
Okay.
How about if let me clean all this up. I'll send you a copy of
Mm-hmm.
what we talked about, as well as the board, and let's talk about this next week and see if we can
All
get.
right,
get
maybe
it
Wednesday
if we can
afternoon, I
agree.
can stop by here and talk to you a little bit more about it, or whatever,
problem.
see how it looks and all that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's good.
All right.
Yeah, like I said, it's we got to get somebody to fill in that spot, so.
Sure. All right. Trustee Murphy, anything else?
No, sir, that's all I had.
Chief, just a reminder
long
too,
enough.
I know I sent you something on this and it popped up on my computer just before this meeting, that small equipment grant application is due by Friday.
Yeah, we normally don't turn that in. The reason being is there's 2 tiers of list. The equipment on tier 1 does nothing for us, and they look at, there ain't too many departments in Cook County that ever get them grants. They look at the ones that really need it, that really have a hard time with funding. I think in the last 3 years, there's only been one Cook County department that's actually gotten a grant, and that was Garden Homes for Education Equipment. They have 2 tiers of list of equipment. Anything we would need would be on tier 2. They always run out of money before they ever get to the tier 2 list.
We didn't get something a couple years ago from them?
Not from the state fire marshal, no.
Okay, because I
No.
couldn't see it on my tablet. I was looking at home just now at dinner tonight, but there was a correspondence between you and the previous village clerk, and she was trying to get some paperwork ready for you, and I thought that maybe that was accepted.
No, it wasn't through the state fire marshal office. We've done stuff through Firehouse Subs. I can't think of the other insurance company. We've done a lot of little grants, but usually the state fire marshal one
Okay,
we
yeah,
don't
'cause it
do.
was
Everything's
the-
through FEMA normally.
It was the same $26,000 one and stuff, so I didn't know if we had
Yeah,
one.
no. The only other thing we do every once in a while is IDPH when they open up theirs.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Next, we go to Police and Traffic Safety Committee,
No agenda this evening, Mayor?
Public Work and Boat Launch Committee.
That would be me. A presentation of the Public Works November 2023 monthly activity report. That's all I have, sir.
Okay, thank you. Sewer and Water Committee,
No report, Mayor?
okay. Building and Health, Trustee Peretta.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I have a presentation of the Health Department November 2023 monthly activity report. In the month of November, there were 21 complaints and 11 citations issued. Next, I have a presentation of the Building Department November 2023 monthly activity report. In the month of November, there were 74 permits issued, $10,016 was collected, including inspector fees, and the estimated cost of construction is valued at $15,270,505. And I see the major portion of that is from that new development at 5825 West 118th Street, and their estimated cost of construction is valued at just under $12 million. So I see that development is just cruising along. I passed that development up over the weekend on 294, and it looks like they are cruising. And that's all I have, Mayor.
I tell you what, Opus is doing an amazing job over there. I've been over there a couple times, and man, it's like watching like Tonka toys flying around out there. They got these big earth movers, and they got an excavator dropping dirt in there, and this thing's just bouncing along through this huge, acres of field to get to the other side to dump it off and everything too. And they actually did put down somewhat of a pad, Roger, off 118th Street there, just to kind of where they're getting going, but. That's amazing how they took out all those trees that fast and everything yet,
They're
too.
definitely moving along really quick, which is great for us.
Yeah, no, it looks good. Thank you, trustee. Next, we had Human Resource and Insurance, trustee Murphy.
No report tonight, sir.
Okay. Economic Development Report, Committee.
No report this evening, Mayor.
Okay. Village Properties, trustee McGlohan.
I have a presentation of the Heritage November 2023 monthly activity report, and that's all I have, Mayor.
I was actually at an event I saw Kenny Hobolt last week. He was saying we've only got like three. Roger, we only have 3 vacancies?
3 vacancies between both properties.
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
Out of 515 apartments, there's only 3 empties. That's great. Good to hear.
Doing a great job over there.
Yeah. Yeah, when he told me, I'm like, man, you're kidding me. 3 out of the whole thing. That's amazing. Ordinance legislation, ordinance legislation, trustee Parada.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a request for approval of an ordinance of the Village of Alsip, Cook County, Illinois, regarding the Illinois Paid Leave for All Workers Act. And that's all I have on my agenda.
Okay, so I actually had a discussion with trustee Parada right before the meeting, and I wanted to just quickly clear up what we need to do here, because we need to approve this next week. And, Madam Clerk, I'll give this back to you when I get done. What we have in this ordinance was kind of modeled through the Illinois Municipal League, and I think we might just want to make one revision to this, and that is, we can read into the record kind of quicker, is this is going to be an ordinance of the Village of Alsip, Cook County, Illinois, regarding the Illinois Paid Leave for All Workers Act. This provides that the corporate authorities of each municipality may pass all ordinances and make all rules and regulations proper or necessary to carry into effect the powers granted to municipalities with such fines or penalties as may be deemed proper. The Village of Alsip is a home rule unit of government pursuant to the Illinois Constitution and pursuant to the provisions of said Section 6, Article 7, may exercise any power or perform any function pertaining to its government and affairs. On or about March 12, 2023, Governor Pritzker signed into law the Paid Leave for All Workers Act. The state of Illinois did not make the necessary appropriations or include statutory language exempting the act from the Illinois State Mandate Act. The act does not include any express limitation on the village's home rule authority as required by Section 7, Article 7, Section 6 of the Illinois Constitution. Effective January 1st, 2024, the Act requires employers to provide certain paid leave to employees unless the employer is subject to an existing municipal or county ordinance that requires the employer to provide any form of paid leave to employees, which our ordinances do, which our attorney confirmed. Not all municipalities do that. The village recognizes the importance of the paid leave and currently provides reasonable paid leave to its employees. The village has determined that applying the act to its own employees will negatively impact the village and place undue financial and operational burden on the village's ability to provide uninterrupted services to its residents. Whereas the village believes and hereby declares that it's in its best interest of the village to clearly define the paid leave benefits that the village employees shall receive by way of its own ordinances and policies. The only change I'd like to make to this would just be one thing when it comes to part-time workers here for the village is the Act says for every 40 hours worked, that employee is entitled to 1 hour of paid time off. Right now, you have to be employed here 5 years as a part-time employee, averaging 1,000 hours a year to qualify for
Get any
that.
time off?
So I think that's the only adjustment I think we should make to what we have right now.
Well, I said,
is
but
to
would we
include
make
that.
it to, we wouldn't make it to this ordinance, though, we would make it to our PTO policy, wouldn't we?
No, it'd be this ordinance here. This is what we're going to be approving.
Okay,
This
because
is
I
here.
thought you just said, the comment was that we have our own ordinances and that those will rule, which is why this is reading, we are opting out of their ordinance.
You can't use the word opt out.
Well, but I mean, but it's saying, what you just read is, we have our own ordinances, which
Exactly.
will take precedent.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying we should put that PTO in our own ordinance so that we have everything in a single place.
We can't, but not at this time. We can look at that when it comes time for the negotiations with all the collective bargaining agreements, so we can't change the collective bargaining agreement while it's currently in position.
No, but I mean, I'm talking about like summer employees. They are not part of a bargaining,
Right.
and other part-time positions are also not part of any bargaining unit.
Right. Actually, they are. We've got maintenance people that are part-timers, they're AFSCME employees.
Some maintenance workers, but again,
Represent, I
not
should
all
say.
part-time
Village employees
employees.
represent by AFSCME, right, Raj? Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. So I guess the only change I was going to ask that we do is, like I said, just to include the part-timers or seasonal employees in this particular ordinance. I can have Beth add that in where it looks applicable, or where it looks best suited to do. This way, we can certainly say that we complied with the ordinance, or with the act, I apologize, with the act. Paid leave for all
Paid
workers.
Leave Act, correct.
Pardon me, trustee?
No, you're correct, Mayor, the Paid
Okay.
Leave Act.
Yeah. Is everybody okay with doing that? Adding that language? Because I don't want to modify the ordinance if we're not. I mean.
Well, I'm confused, because, I mean, even, as this says in what was read, village adopts any current paid leave policies for village employees as set forth in the village's employee handbooks, annual salary ordinance, and collective bargaining agreements. So to me, that's where the amendment needs to be made, not on the face of this ordinance.
But as I said, how do you, in other words, those CBAs, those collective bargaining agreements are good for.
Right, and we're not going to touch the CBAs.
Right.
We would strictly add, the PTO policy that we just recently amended to grant new hires, to allow them to accrue time off.
Right.
We would just add an additional section on that exact same ordinance that says part-time and seasonal employees
Oh, I
will
see what you're saying.
accrue-
We can adjust our ordinance instead.
Yes.
No problem. I
And
get
we
it.
leave this as is.
Right.
We change that ordinance, and we're good to go.
Agreed. Okay. Is everyone, Trustee Murphy, what do you think about that?
I'm good with that.
Yeah. This way we can say our ordinance meets the demand.
Yes.
Gotcha. Understood.
agree.
No problem. I guess we're saying the same thing in a different language, that's all.
Yeah, I just didn't want to change this on its face to maybe make it muddy when it's already telling you, we have our own rules and we're going to follow our rules.
Understood. Understood. So this way we'll cover all that then, too. Okay, very good. Thank you. Trustee Brett, anything else from ordinance legislation?
Nothing else, Mayor.
Okay. We covered planning and zoning licenses. Did anyone have any presentations, petitions, or communications they wanted to share? About any unfinished business? Any new business? None? Can I get a motion then to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We'll adjourn this meeting. Time now is 9:16 PM. Thank you very much, everybody. I'll work on these, on what the chief and all of us discussed earlier, and send everybody a revision tomorrow so we can start looking at that, okay?
Thank you.
Okay.